Once you do that, and you've got some kind of contact through whatever means, how do you understand it? how do you figure out exactly what an alien civilization, number one, what their signal looks like? But say you get it. Say you get a narrowband signal, and it's obviously technological, something like that. But you don't have any other commonality with it other than being able to use radio, even with a relay. So how do you communicate with it?
Okay, it's a deep problem when it comes to signaling back and forth across interstellar distances and it's one of the reasons why ET would not opt to send us signals, because they may speak to one another in bee-like waggle dances or cuttlefish-like colors or something like that. They have no way of knowing, in the absence of who we are, that they should be sending words, or much less what words and what kind of language and so forth. There are deep problems of communicating with ET. There's the problem of the modality of communication. But we can't even understand dolphins or any other sentient beings on our own planet. We're not able yet to communicate with them. How are we going to communicate with ET? There's the problem not just of their communication modalities, but their sensory modalities. I feel like I've got some sort of mutual understanding with my dog. But when I take my dog for a walk and the dog stops to smell the bushes, I have no idea what world of smells my dog is entering into. And I'm completely insensible to this world of and the glories of various types of splotches of dog urine, which leads into, not only am I insensitive to it, I don't care about it. My dog and I have different interests. She's interested in dog urine and I'm interested in SETI. I can't talk to her about SETI, and she has no way of communicating with me all the glories and beauties of different levels and types and bouquets of dog urine. So there's the gap of the intellectual gap that will no doubt obtain between ourselves and ET. If we were to come in contact with Homo habilis, it would be absolutely pointless for us to try to talk to them about Shakespeare or Einstein. And on the other hand, we don't have a lot of use for their scrapers, or the rest of their stone tools. So what are we going to talk about? So there's huge problems. And the only solution that I see about it is that provided by probes. These robotic AI-driven probes are studying us, decoding us, learning about us, and when they can communicate back to us, it will be from the vantage point of having learned a great deal about us, which may be very, very different than what they're about. So if they communicate with us in English, it doesn't mean that, that they really have a deep coherence with us. The entity that's speaking English may be representing entities that are vastly and wildly different from us. And I believe that one of the reasons why we don't hear from these probes, which are here right now in our own solar system, if ET only exists, provided only that ET exists, then they're here. They're already in our solar system. They've had plenty of time to get here, and they're here. But it doesn't mean that the local probe has either the ability or the authority to communicate with us without feedback from their home system. In other words, they may need to transmit a great deal of data about us back to the home system for deeper analysis than they're capable of on board, or they may need and seek authority from the home planetary system on how to proceed. Either to open communication with us, study us for a longer period of time, or because we're a wretched civilization to destroy us forthwith. Anyway, so it may be, in that respect, if their home base is 1,000 light years away, it could be another couple of millennium before we hear anything from these probes.
That may be a solution to the Great Silence in and of itself, is the idea that any communication is futile, that there's just no point. So don't. Instead, just send out your probes and watch and do whatever science you're interested in and leave it at that.
Well, there is communication. If you forgive me, there is communication that is vital. There's essentially one piece of information that needs to be transmitted, and that is the law. And it may be that probes aren't here to give us great instructions on the cure for cancer or how to make world peace or whatever, but they're here to just read us the riot act. That in effect, there is a galactic law, and that law could be comprised of just two words: don't come, stay still. You get the point that you move, you die, something like that, something along those lines. I mean, very simple law. It's not do unto others or anything like that, but it's as simple. The galactic rule is you stay on your own home planet, and you don't try to go out and colonize others. The other thing, as I've already said, is that they desperately need us to help in the creation and maintenance of the intergalactic communication or the interstellar communication network. And why do you have an interstellar communication network in the first place, if not to transmit information among civilizations? And I would imagine that this system could, in some respect, act as a dating service. It could shunt our information towards civilizations with whom we have some commonality. So if there are, as Frank Drake speculated, there were 10,000 extant civilizations in our galaxy, well, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them have enough in common with us that it's worth getting to know them. Well, the interstellar system of communication could put us in more or less direct contact with them without ever giving away their coordinates or ours.
That's a really interesting thought, that it works as a kind of commonality booster, where it just says you can't really, you're never going to understand that group of aliens over there, but we got some that you might, and does it that way. But I also wonder if the probe itself might be a commonality, because it's going to have to work on scientific principles and stay within the laws of physics. So it's going to probably resemble electronics, and it may be far more advanced, but maybe that's the point, is that you're supposed to find the probe so you learn how to make the material you need to join that civilization or galactic federation of sorts. Because one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that this galaxy has been able to support habitable worlds far longer than Earth has been here, the solar system, the 4.6 billion years, but it actually is a few billion years further than that it could have done it. So there could be unbelievably advanced alien civilizations out there that we just don't know what we're looking at when we look to the stars.
Well, there are just two things that we know for an absolute certainty about ET, and one is that, as we've already discussed, ET is not obvious. That's the first fact we know about ET. ET is not obvious. Why it is that we can't look up in the sky and see evidence of ET as plainly as we see the full moon is a deep mystery, because they've had billions of years to get here and make themselves known in that respect. That's the great silence. The second thing that we know about ET for an absolute certainty, absolutely near certainty, is that ET is vastly more advanced than us. Any ET that we encounter will be not just thousands of years more advanced than us, but at least millions of years more advanced, and more likely billions of years more advanced than us. Because the first civilization, ET civilization in our galaxy, may have been born as early as 8 or 9 billion years ago. That's one hell of a head start that they've had on us. You have to assume that they, the universe is 13.7 billion years old. You have to assume that life couldn't have gotten going for the first several billion years, or probably only just the first billion years, maybe the first 1.5 billion years. Thereafter, you can have life and add 4 or 5 billion years to that, and you come to something like 9 billion years ago, you could have had your first civilizations. That's a long time and a great deal of advancement. But when I say that they're more advanced than us, I just mean technologically, as defined by the ability to send or receive radio or optical signals across interstellar space. We know we're only in our first 100 years of being able to receive or send signals. The chances that they are also in their first 100 years are out of the 9 billion years is statistically negligible.